Hi friends, I'm getting ready to do another ride. It is October the 16th, Sunday afternoon, and I only have about 3 hours of daylight left. I wanted to get out today in part because of the last ride I did was actually just too big. I did over 100 miles of forest road, and from that, you probably know, I've made several videos, and the reality of that ride is that it was too much. I came home beat up the next day. I was sore. I'm tired. It was just a lot. Technical riding on rough roads. And so today is kind of getting back on the horse once it's thrown you off. I wanted to do a smaller ride today and do something completely different. Gunnison County has so much variety. And the last ride, we went into a lot of beautiful forest land and high alpine type stuff, or at least alpine. Today, I'm going to stay almost entirely in BLM land, and that means that there are not going to be a lot of trees, but there will be some really cool views, and you'll get to see what the BLM roads are like, and they're a ton of fun too. I'm going to stick fairly close to Gunnison, so I am going to go up on Signal Peak, which is just a little bit northwest of town, and Signal Peak is the beginning of BLM and forest land that goes on forever. But I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to stay kind of on the Tamichi Valley side, so the south-facing side for the most part, and I'm just going to keep on working my way east and see how far I go. We may end up in some forest land because the trails do go that far. But my goal really is to explore all those roads in that area and see some of the fun, closer to home views. And hope you enjoy it. A little bit of variety. It's going to be a fun ride today since it is like 2:30 in the afternoon on October the 16th. Reminder, you really have to worry about the what ifs around here. Freak mountain storms can really be bad. So I am taking a puffy. I am taking cap and gloves, I'm taking food and water, I'm taking first aid, I'm taking, all the emergency stuff, even a thin emergency blanket, in case something happens and I have to spend the night. It's going to be rough. This morning when I woke up, it was 17 degrees right here at the house, and now it's 60. This is what happens in Gunnison. The afternoons get so nice, you think, oh, it's a beautiful day, but then tonight it's going to dip back down into the teens again. So you got to be prepared for that. So anyway, that's today's ride, Signal Peak, and there will be more details in the show notes, of course. So I had to stop for gas and thought, hey, why not? Maybe you guys would like to see a little bit of Gunnison. So this is the north end of town. Gunnison has a delightful little main street. It's only about 3 blocks long, really, but great shops and nice restaurants, and boy, we probably have more coffee shops per capita than anywhere. So if you like really, really good coffee, then we have you covered. Matter of fact, funny story, you may have seen this in the news, but one of the local coffee roasters called First Ascent, who provides coffee for several of the coffee shops around the valley, was selected by an astronaut to take that coffee to the International Space Station, and so the coffee roasted right here in Gunnison County is on the International Space Station right now. So here's downtown. I'm hanging a left here on Highway 50, which means I'm going east. Gunnison was once 2 different towns. There was a lot of competition between them. There was a railroad that came through, and I think it kind of divided up the town. One town now, but historically, this area goes way, 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 way back historically. 100, and I don't know, when people first settled here, 150 years. maybe more. I should look up the number, but lots of history. Kind of windy today. We'll see how this goes. This is Jorgensen Park, and in my estimation, it's the best fireworks show of any place on July 4th. You see W Mountain there, it's actually Tenderfoot Mountain. They're Native American artifacts up there, which is maybe how it got its name. But W Mountain on the one side, on the other we have Signal Peak, which is where we're riding today. The wind is going to get a little loud, so I'm going to shut up for a little bit. But the fireworks echo between these mountains, and it's a glorious sound. Gunnison County 72. Now, Signal Peak is best known for its mountain biking. In the Gunnison area, you know, in Gunnison County, there are over 750 miles of mountain biking single track. The best riding around. Nothing's going to be better than this anywhere on the planet. But in Gunnison, the main two riding areas are Hartman Rocks and Signal Peak. And Gunnison Trails is actively building more trails all the time, working in conjunction with the BLM and the Forest Service. So as you can see, this is BLM land, sagebrush. You know, though, in the evening, when the sun gets low on the horizon, the sagebrush comes alive, and it's just beautiful. The colors, amazing. So as you saw, I probably went a mile from Gunnison, and I'm already on a BLM road. So if you want to do a short ride that's close by, that'll get you into some amazing views, Signal Peak is a fun little option, which is why I'm here today. Didn't want to go big, I just wanted to go. I volunteered with Gunnison Trails, which meant that I got to help build some of the trails that are up here. Hope to do that more in the future. But like I've said on previous episodes, for the most part, I leave the single track to the mountain bikes for them to enjoy. When I'm on my motorcycle, there are plenty of twin track roads. And what is twin track but two single tracks side by side? So straight ahead of us, you can see Signal Peak. Nice little conical point. There's a mountain bike trail up here called Music Rocks. Music does rock. This is one of the parking areas for the trail system, but you can ride from town easily enough. Music Rocks is called that. Well, it's kind of a secret, because if you don't know why it's called that, you've not been up there. If you have been up there, you don't have to ask. Hello. These roads are very steep, but they're decent. When they're muddy, of course, it's a different story. But we're dry today. So, Music Rocks. When you ride over the rocks on a mountain bike, it's some sort of rock that's similar to shale or slate, but it's not. I don't even know what it is for sure, but it has that shape. It's thin and it's very dense, and so when the rocks tumble on each other, they clatter like wind chimes, and every stone has a different pitch. So as you ride over it, it sounds like thousands of wind chimes. and that's why it's called Music Rocks. It's super cool. I'm going to have to find out what kind of rock it actually is. It might be gneiss. Today we're going, not to the tippy top, but to the shoulder right there. So you can see the view, and then I'm going to turn to the east. And there's a network of BLM roads that go on for miles and miles and miles, so there's no telling where we're going to end up. So I've seen pronghorn, antelope up here, mule deer, of course, Gunnison sage grouse. Now there's an interesting story. There are all sorts of sage grouse around Colorado, but for some reason here in Gunnison, they identified the sage grouse here as a different species, and it only exists in this area. So because of that, it's an endangered species. So there are all sorts of protection rules to take care of the sage grouse to make sure that it does well. So the good portion of the mountain we're on right now, and the southern part of, here we go, woo! And the southern part of Hartman Rocks are closed in the springtime. And you can look up on Gunnison Trails what the closures are, but I believe it's until April 15th. Maybe it's May 1st. Different types of usage are open at different times. But that's to make sure that the nesting season for the sage grouse is not interrupted by too many people. There are also closures in this area in the wintertime, especially for elk and deer, primarily for elk who migrate through here so that they can have a less stressful migration. So that's the anthracite range, conical Mount Carbon, flat top. Straight ahead there, we're seeing into the Elk Range, and I believe that is actually Castle, a 14er. Now episodes 1 and 2 were shot over the top of that mountain right there. And the higher peaks you see, that's Fossil Ridge, which we talked about in those episodes. Instead of going straight, I decided I wanted to go this way. A little bit hazy today. From here, you can see into the San Juans to the southwest. And we can see two 14ers in the San Juans from up here on a clear day. One is Uncompahgre. Wetterhorn is right behind Uncompahgre, but you can't see it because it's right behind Uncompahgre. But we can also make out the tip of Mount Sneffels, which is a really popular, beautiful 14er by Uray. Mount Sneffels is hard to see. Yeah, big views up here. So right there is where you can hike up to the top of Signal Peak, and at the very top there are a few of those musical rocks, but that's not the Music Rocks Trail. The Music Rocks Trail is in the trees off to the right that you'll see here in a minute. Okay, you see the trees on the shoulder of the mountain over there. Not the left, but to the right. That's where Music Rocks is. So I have never been on this road. This is a first-time adventure for me. Looks like we have a nice little hill climb ahead of us. Some mountain bike trails cross right about here. On the left, the mountain bike trail is called Northwoods. This is a little connector trail that goes to there. Yeah, this is steep. We're going up. Very steep. Hey, I think we're into the musical rocks. I do know that they're making it hard to get the motorcycle up. Man. Maybe I can clink a couple of rocks together for you. That was loosey-goosey stuff. You can't hear it very well right now. When you get a pile of them together, then you can imagine all the different pitches and sounds. The far horizon is Sawtooth, straight ahead. That's the Tamichi Valley below. Where the trees are down there is Gunnison, and that long strip of pavement south of Gunnison is Gunnison Airport. I like to joke that it's Gunnison International Airport because people from all over the world do fly in here. The Gunnison Airport has 2 or 3 commercial flights a day, depending on the season. And a lot of those flights are for the ski resort, Crested Butte, which is the other side of the motorcycle over there. It's about a 30-minute drive from the airport to Crested Butte. But I think it's funny because people go through Gunnison on the way to somewhere else and they fail to realize how spectacular and special it is in its own right. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but I can see Uncompahgre back up against the clouds. You know, we just left Gunnison and look how high we are already. Way up here. You can see the trail below, that's Music Rocks. It zigzags up to the trees all the way to the top. And now I'm looking almost due east. The rounded mountain closest to us is Tamichi Dome, and behind that we have Mount Uray and forget the name of the other peaks. Tamichi Dome is kind of interesting because it's a volcanic dome. It's like a volcano that made a bubble and never erupted. That's one way to think of it. Let's ride a little more, see what we can find up here. I do plan on going lower and using some of the BLM roads through those valleys as well on this ride. can imagine, in late spring, lots of flowers up here, more of the small arid type flowers. The biggest flowers around, of course, are above Crested Butte. Between Crested Butte and Aspen on those high mountain passes, the flowers get to be 3-4 feet tall, and every color of flower you could imagine. Mountain biking up there, because I didn't have this motorcycle in the spring, but mountain biking up there, you would go over a little rise and it would be just a sea of yellow. And then you'd go over another little rise, it would be a sea of lavender. And then the next little rise would be a sea of red. And then you would come into another meadow and it would be all of them combined. Just majestic, beautiful. Yeah, I wasn't sure I was going to get through all that loose rock at the top of that last steep hill. For a minute there, the back tire was spinning so much, you saw I lost my steering and my forward movement. I thought that I was going to come to a stop and have to fight my way up, but luckily it worked out. That gate is for cattle management, and you can take your 4x4 through it. You just have to open the gate and be nice. Make sure you close it behind you. I took the shortcut. You know, my son, before I left, was kind of joking with me about what I would talk about on today's ride. And he brought up some philosophers. He recently took a philosophy class in college. And but he was talking about various philosophers, including Nietzsche and others, Descartes, what they believed, what they taught about the meaning of life. And we were talking about nihilism. Let's see what we have here. Please close the gate. Okay, I will. But I have to open it first. Nihilism seems to be a problem that humans have had through the ages. And I'd like to do my part to help bring nihilism down to size. You see, the idea behind nihilism is that you lose faith. Lose faith that life has any meaning. And one aspect of nihilism is that you don't believe that there's any higher purpose for the existence. But I argue that life is full of meaning. Really, the question, though, is not what is the meaning of life. That's the wrong question. That's really hard to answer. And I have some answers that are kind of my own. But I think the better question than what is the meaning of life is what gives life meaning for you. And I think it's important to realize whatever situation you find yourself in, maybe you're nihilistic, you feel like maybe humanity doesn't have any purpose and maybe we shouldn't even exist. I want you to know that we all can be better than we are. And you can be better than you are. I can be better than I am. And in that is a lot of hope. The I'm okay, you're okay just the way you are business, I don't think that provides much hope. I might need to come back here and take this 3107C spur. Wow, roads everywhere, but I'm taking the middle road. I think one thing that makes people think that life has no meaning is when they start using hedonism to try to provide meaning for life. In other words, how much pleasure can I have? How much fun? And while fun is important, I'm a big supporter of, promoter of having fun times in life. It's not the meaning of life, it's not the answer. And I think what happens is that people, they kind of take pleasure maybe to its extremes, and then it quits working for them because you know, you get used to things, and then you have to do something bigger and bigger and bigger to get the same thrill. Adrenaline junkies, you know, it used to be riding a tricycle in the driveway was enough. And then you end up with people that are speed shooting off of cliffs, which is probably one of the most extreme things that humans have ever done. By the way, I did a lot of research on how dangerous adventure sports really are. And almost all adventure sports, meaning things like mountain biking, mountain climbing, rock climbing, skydiving, you just go down the list. Almost all adventure sports are much, much safer than driving the car to the trailhead. Cars are actually very dangerous. But we drive cars every day, so, you know, it's a risk. We weigh the risk against the benefits, and we drive. But if you do adventure sports with training and caution and wisdom, then the adventure sports themselves are safer than driving the car. All except for speed shooting, and that's why I brought it up. If you are someone who, or if you took up the hobby of speed shooting, if you keep doing it, statistically, you'll die. People that quit speed shooting, you know, they live, but if you do it long enough, eventually you die. That's the way the statistics kind of play out on that one. I don't think I need a thrill that big. By the way, there's a sport in Colorado that's incredibly popular. Hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people a year do it. And it's actually about the most dangerous adventure sport, except for speed shooting. It's more dangerous than mountain biking. It's more dangerous than riding this motorcycle. It's more dangerous than technical rock climbing. Wager a guess of what it is? Snow skiing. Yep. Snow skiing is incredibly popular, and people travel from all over the world to do it here in Colorado. And you can do it safely, but actually more people have serious accidents or die snow skiing than almost any other adventure sport. And I mean normalized by participants, the number of people that do them even. Everything's relative. People think the skiing is fun, and it is. I love it. absolutely love it. And I'm an extreme skier, though a very careful one. But I like going into the extreme terrain, double black plus, and going down the steeps. Just love that. But some people think that rock climbing is dangerous, and riding motorcycles is dangerous, and a lot of other things are so dangerous, but snow skiing, that's what's dangerous. Oh, now I have wanderlust. Part of me wants to turn around and explore some of the lower roads to the south, but I just want to keep going and see what I can see. So back to nihilism. People start doing extreme things and they have to go bigger and bigger and bigger to get the same rush. Or, we all know how that works with sexual passion. You know, sexually, morals and ethics create boundaries that keep it special. But if you start engaging in a free-for-all, then it has to get crazier and crazier and crazier for the same thrill. You get to the point that nothing satisfies. So, pleasure seeking is what we're talking about here. You can seek pleasure. You can seek pleasure to the point that nothing is pleasurable anymore, and then life feels like it has no meaning. So, back to nihilism. Fun and pleasure, that's not the meaning of life. I think people become nihilistic when they realize that nothing satisfies. They begin to wonder if there's any reason or purpose. So I pose the question again, instead of what gives life meaning, I'm sorry, I said it backwards. Instead of what is the meaning of life, maybe the question ought to be, what gives life meaning? What does give life meaning? You know, when you sort out values, what really matters to you, you begin to see that some things are very important, and some things do a lot of good. They're life-giving. Life-giving for you, but also life-giving for others. And I would argue that if they're not life-giving for others, then you're missing out on something there. So what adds meaning to life? I really believe it's a matter of finding these things that really, really matter to you and deciding to make a difference. It's taking on a task that makes the world a better place for you and for others. And when you do that, then you find fulfillment. And it's not just a do-gooder thing, it's a matter of contributing to something bigger than yourself. Pouring yourself out in a way that makes the world a better place and leaves it better than you found it. I really do believe that that's what gives life meaning. Adds meaning to life. And for some people, it could be in the arts. You know, maybe you're a painter or a musician or a sculptor. Who knows? But you make things of extraordinary beauty You contribute, you do your thing to bring happiness to others. Maybe you're someone who really likes to help others, and maybe psychology is how you contribute. Counseling. Loving on people, you know? Maybe you're a deep thinker and you like to forward the sciences of understanding that help other people find more meaning in life. Maybe you're a great humanitarian. You like to improve other people's lives. Now there's a sign you don't see every day. So, long trails. You have the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine. You have the Pacific Crest Trail, which is pretty much from Mexico to Canada along the West Coast mountain peaks. And you have the Continental Divide Trail that goes on top of and parallels the Continental Divide in Colorado. And this spur right here is an offshoot of the Continental Divide Trail and also the Colorado Trail, because they end up sharing the same trail for a section through here. But this spur takes you to Gunnison and back. So if you would like to walk, I'm going to go right, the road less traveled. If you would like to walk essentially from Mexico to Canada on the Continental Divide, then you can do that on the Continental Divide Trail. You know, I've talked to a lot of people who felt like that added a lot of meaning to their lives. Not necessarily because it was some great accomplishment that helped others, but more because it helped them. You know, I talked to one fine fellow who was walking all the way around the world, and he made the point that when you're out there walking alone, then you find yourself having a lot of time with yourself, with your own thoughts. There's something about the silence and the long walk that helps you to process things that maybe you've been ignoring for far too long, things that were eating you from the inside and maybe you didn't even know it. But on the long walk, you sort these things out. And you have life experiences that you never would have dreamed of otherwise. You do that inner work that can be so challenging. And sometimes that brings a lot of meaning to life. Maybe the summary statement is this. Find something that you believe in. Looks like this gets a little bit steep. Here we go. Too steep for brakes. Find something that you really value and you really believe in, and begin to pour yourself into that. Make sure it's not just self-serving, that it does more. And it's okay to change your mind and your direction. But once you find something you really believe in, and you start working for it, it provides momentum and purpose and fulfillment. And once you're moving, and learning and growing, then it's easier to see other paths, and maybe you'll find other things that are even more life-giving and more meaningful. And maybe you decide that you want to change your course and do something else, but that's okay too. The thing is, if you're sitting alone thinking that life has no meaning, then the answer is to do something bigger than yourself. This is a steep climb. Spinning out a little bit there. Hey, it looks like we found the cattle. And the aspen. Look at this BLM road that's going through the valley there. Looks like I'd have to go through at least 2 gates to get over to it. It does look like a lot of fun to go down that valley. Eventually, I'm sure it would end up on Highway 50. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching Gunny Moto. I had a lot of fun on this ride. I hope you did too. In the next episode, we wind our way back out of these hills, finding some new ways that I didn't even know existed. It's going to be a lot of fun too. Merry Christmas, and I look forward to seeing you next time.